Good evening everyone, and welcome to this live flight on VATSIM. Tonight we're going from Manchester down to Gatwick, and at the moment we've currently got ATC online for both airports, starting with Manchester ground. I've just hopped into the cockpit here of the A320, turned on the batteries, got the external power and the fuel pumps. The ideas are aligning. Let's go ahead and turn on the screens. We're already tuned to Manchester ground, so you can see some pilots and communication going on there. So we're going to take you through a live flight this evening. There we go. I've not programmed any flight plan details in here, so we need to set this up as well. So that's still to do, so you'll get to see us do that. Just checking that we're tuned 121.85 on Manchester ground. There we are. What I'm going to try and do actually is put the simulator into full screen mode. There we go, that's better. So we'll just wait for them to finish their communications, then we'll request our clearance to down to Gatwick. And I've got the flight plan in front of me as well, which will pop in there in a moment. So according to the flight plan, we are expecting a departure from runway 23 right and the Samba 1 Romeo SID departure route. And if you're like me, it's always worth having a pen and paper to hand to make sure you can write plenty of things down. And I know what I do need to get. I need to get the ATIS. I've not got that yet. The problem I have found is I can't get the ATIS from full screen. So if we double click on that, we'll get the ATIS information just here. So the runway in use is 23 right, that's fine. Transition level, surface wind, visibility is fine, temperature 11, dew point is 9, QNH 1018, and we have information hotel. So that's important, that's what we need to report when we first contact the ground. So QNH 1018. So they seem to have stopped communicating for the time being. We'll just contact ground and ask for clearance to Gatwick as per the flight plan that we've got filed. Manchester ground, good evening. Easy 34 Alpha Mike with you as a type A320, requesting IFR clearance as planned down to Gatwick, and we have information hotel.
Easy 34 Alpha Mike, good evening. You're cleared to Gatwick on a Samba 1 Romeo departure, runway 23 right, squawk 3413.
Cleared via the Samba 1 Romeo departure route, runway 23 right, and squawk 3413, easy 34 Alpha Mike.
Easy 34 Alpha Mike, read back correct.
Okay, so we need to pop the squawk code in there, 3413. For some reason.
Comjet 2425, Manchester ground.
There we go. Had an issue there, swapping between the two screens, couldn't click.
Comjet 2425, Manchester ground.
Ground control is trying to contact a plane that seems to have disappeared, which they may try and do then via text, as you can see on screen there. So whilst we're still waiting for the ideas to align, 3 minutes, we're going to put our flight plan in. So we're going from Manchester down to London Gatwick. And there's no route stored, so we're going to have to pop that in manually, which is fine. So our cost index today, as with most EasyJet flights, is a cost index of 8. We've got our fuel, block fuel is already loaded and programmed in. Zero fuel weight is 57.7, that's already in for us.
Match scale Tomjet 2425 with you.
Tomjet 2425, good evening. Taxi to stand 206 via Delta Echo and November Charlie.
206 via Delta November Charlie and Echo, did you say?
Delta Echo and then November Charlie.
Right, okay. Echo, November Charlie and 206.
No worries, stand 206 Delta. I mean, you're virtually on Echo anyway, so Echo and November Charlie.
Yeah, Roger. It's just I'm on a keyboard rather than trying to both at once. A bit awkward.
No problem at all. Don't get that in real life.
No, indeed. I admire anyone that attempts to try and fly an aircraft using just the keyboard. Right, so that is all the data from the flight plan. Weights all popped in there, and now I'm going to put the flight plan in. If you're wondering where I've got all those details from, I'm using a SimBrief flight plan tonight. There's a video that I've uploaded showing you how to use SimBrief and get all the weights from that, so check out that tutorial if you want help with that. So we're now going to select our departure runway, which tonight is 23 right, and we're using the Samba 1 Romeo departure. There it is. Insert that, and that takes us from Samba, and let's find the next waypoint after Samba for us. It's down to Utuksa. There we go. Down to Utuksa. After that it's Honolulu, which is a VOR. Make sure we choose the right one here. We're in the northern hemisphere, so that always is a bit of a giveaway. There we are. And after Honolulu, it's direct Kidley. Now, in the real world, you would just be able to type in the various airways. However, the Microsoft simulator is not quite there yet with regards to airways, so I'm having to type in the waypoints manually. Right, and that's it. After that, we'll be doing a star arrival into Gatwick, but I'll program that in a little bit later on. So there we are, and the map's all set and working. We'll turn the flight director on. Just check manage mode is engaged, up to 5,000 feet to begin with. Good, so start the APU and turn on the beacon lights and the wing lights as well. The APU in the A320neo takes a while to start, as do the real engines as well. Compared to the normal engines, the neo engines take much longer to start. Can't remember if I've already told you I'm using the latest mod by fly-by-wire simulations, which is why we're getting realistic screens flashing up here.
That's Tomjet 2425. Just for confirmation of scenery, is that look alright on the centre of the 206?
Roger, yes, you are on the centre of 206, Tomjet 2425.
Roger, thank you very much.
I can just see an aircraft coming around the corner here. Okay, so what we're going to do is request clearance to push and start. Just waiting for that APU to begin. Now the pushback in Microsoft Flight Simulator requires a little bit of forward thinking. So what we can do is switch over to COM2 here, and to the ground services, and we'll request for pushback in a moment, but we need to go back to 121.85 to make sure that's connected with VATSIM. So the controllers can hear us in a moment when we request that. APU shouldn't be far off from firing up now. Looking at the chart in front of us, once we've got the pushback, we should be taxiing, I would imagine, via Juliet Echo, Foxtrot and Juliet to the holding point Mike 1 if you're following along with a ground chart for Manchester Airport. And we've got that available, so we can start the APU bleed and we'll request pushback clearance. Manchester ground, EZ34 Alpha Mike is ready for push and start. Don't know what's happened to the controller there. We'll give him a moment. Manchester ground, EZ34 Alpha Mike, ready for push and start.
EZ34 Alpha Mike, stand 11, push and start approved, facing south.
Push and start approved, facing south, EZ34 Alpha Mike. So with that, we'll just head over to COM2 so we can get the pushback clearance.
Manchester ground EJU112.
Remember to remove the parking brakes, otherwise it's a very slow push. Lights keep flickering on and off in the terminal there. Just a small bug, one of many, but I really can't complain at the minute. I think this simulator is absolutely fantastic, certainly for the from a scenery point of view. Now, for those of you that are familiar with the pushback system in the new Microsoft Flight Simulator, you have to preempt what you want the guys in the tug to do. So we're pushing back straight in a minute. Whilst we're doing that, we'll just start engine 1. That'll begin, and we're going to want him to push us back to the right.
Manchester ground EJU112 tree requesting pushback tug to steer the aircraft to the right.
And hopefully we'll get this sort of right and line up with the centre line of the taxiway. Oh, it's very dark, I can't actually see it. Oh, there it is. We'll turn on the taxi lights in a minute, that will help. That will do, we'll get him to stop us there.
Manchester ground EJU112 tree requesting the end of pushback.
That actually doesn't look too bad. So we'll go back to the VATSIM channel now. Now we can close that down, get rid of that. Turn the constraints on. Make sure we follow these numbers as we take off, and they also show on here. So we need to be above these altitudes at these given points. Start engine 2. Turn on the taxi lights and see if we can have a bit of a better view out the window. I can see a little bit. I was hoping to see a little bit more than that. Shouldn't really have the takeoff lights on, but with no green lights on the airport taxiway, we might have to cheat and go for that. So how's engine 2 looking? Looking for about N1 of 19.7%. Make sure they're both stabilised before we request the taxi clearance. you can't just move off without getting the clearance from the controller. And there we go, so both engines are stabilised. Turn the starter switch off and turn the APU off. Right, let's get our taxi clearance. Manchester ground, EZ34 Alpha Mike, ready for taxi.
Correction, EZ34 Alpha Mike. Hold position, aircraft taxiing in.
Well, hold position here, 34 Alpha Mike. So we've got to hold position and wait for this aircraft here, I believe. Of course, one of the other problems with Microsoft Flight Simulator being brand new is that there are no real model matchings yet for AI aircraft within VATSIM, so I've no idea what aircraft that is that I'm looking at there. It could be, well, it looks like it could be another A320 Neo, looking at the shape and size of it. In real life, of course, it could be a 737, but they don't have the models yet in the new Flight Simulator, but it will come. It will come. Just one of the many things to look forward to. So I wonder if in real life that aircraft's got his strobe lights on, that pilot. They're normally turned off when you vacate the runway, but never mind.
EZ34 Alpha Mike taxi to holding point Mike 1 runway 23 right via Juliet Echo, Foxtrot, Kilo and Juliet.
Taxi to holding point Mike 1 via Juliet Echo, Foxtrot, Kilo and Juliet, EZ34 Alpha Mike. Right, so there's our taxi clearance. Do you know what? I am going to turn the takeoff light on just so I can follow this taxiway down. I don't want to be running over the grass. So, parking brake is still off. That's quite naughty actually. I should have turned that on as soon as the tug was disconnected. And before we begin moving, let's just check not the APU, we want the flight control surfaces. So full left, full right, forward, back, and it doesn't yet model the rudder, but you can see the pedals moving there, so there we go. Let's advance the throttles and get moving. So we don't want to take the first left, it's the second left. There's the first left. There's the second left. One of the other things as well which I've noticed is that the taxiway signs don't actually match up with the real taxiway names on the various airport charts, which sounds like I'm being really nitpicky, because why would they? But in FSX they did. 9 times out of 10 you looked at the real airport charts and they matched up. So whether they've just done that on purpose to leave scope for a developer to come along and make the airports more realistic, shall wait and see. So a slight move over to the right here. Let's get the aircraft prepped for takeoff. So flaps 1. Auto brake on max.
EZ34 Alpha Mike, no further ATC, monitor UniCom 122.8 and have the flight.
122.8 for EZ34 Alpha Mike. Thanks for your help. Good night. So he's told us to monitor UniCom because there's no controllers.
122 is on block. Thanks for the ATC. Have a good one. Speedbird 132, thank you for flying in. Have a good evening.
So there's no controllers controlling the next sector. So we go over to UniCom, which I shall do in a moment. I'd forgotten to turn the seatbelt sign on. That is because the default aircraft didn't come with a modelled seatbelt sign, but with the new mod it does. So we're now at holding point Mike 1, which is where we're instructed to go. I'm going to switch over to UniCom 122.8. Just checking out, I didn't see any aircraft looking like they were about to approach the runway, so we will announce that we're going to be taking off from runway 23 at Manchester. Manchester traffic, EZ34 Alpha Mike, landing up runway 23 right for takeoff. And that just lets anybody know in the vicinity that we will be taking off in a moment. So all our lights are on. See, this is holding point Mike 1. This has got this down as taxiway Charlie, which is not in real life. This is taxiway Mike. So let's line up and get airborne. I do think the night lights on the runway look fantastic as well. They've modelled those really nice, the way they just glisten sometimes, they don't just stick there. Okay, so we're lined up, auto brakes come off, let's pop that back on. That's another bug of the system. Ground spoilers on, we'll turn the weather radar on. There we go. And we're ready for takeoff. Start the timer, and let's go. Pushing the side stick forward slightly until we reach 100 knots. And flex temp isn't modelled yet, so we're going for a toga takeoff. Knots. Side stick to the centre, V1, and gently rotate. Positive rate of climb, gear up. We're still getting the lights in the cabin as the landing gear comes up there. Flaps up, and we'll reduce speed now to the CL detent. There it is, just check that. Take off the ground spoilers. We're climbing quite considerably there. One of the things that this default Airbus does. Climbs a little bit faster than it really should do. However, I'm now going to pop the autopilot on. So the autopilot's engaged. It's going to take us up to 5,000 feet, but we've got no air traffic control now, giving us any restrictions, so we can set that to our cruise altitude. Set that to 20,000 feet for now. And our cruise altitude today actually is only 19,000 feet. It's a short journey, so it's not a high climb tonight. I don't want to climb at 6,000 feet. That will rattle the eardrums of the passengers if we climb that quickly. Not not sure actually. I may have made a mistake when I did the initiation. There, look, that's got the cruise altitude tonight of 36,000 feet. By the time we reach that, we'd have overshot Gatwick. So we need to just pop that in and make that change. So it's 19,000 feet, and the temperature tonight is minus 13. Again, information from the flight plan on SimBrief. Okay, so I'm just going to come out of full screen mode so that I can access VATSIM to have a look who is online, and at the moment from where we are, no controllers are online as we're heading down south, which will be a great shame because they were when we set off. We'll keep an eye on that. Get back into the cockpit for now. We're close to 10,000 feet, so landing lights and taxi lights can all come off. Runway turn-off lights can come off. And it looks like, from what I can see at the moment, using the VATScan app on my phone while we're doing this, Gatwick Tower and Gatwick Ground are still online, but they're obviously out of range at the moment. So we'll get in touch with them shortly as we approach the airfield. However, as for doing the ILS approach and the star, that's going to be down to us to do on our own, which is fine. I'll show you how to do that. The moon's out this evening. I know it's a simple thing, but I think it's quite nice that the phases of the moon reflect how they are in real life as well. And I don't know if any of you have noticed, I was flying during the evening the other night, and I managed to find, is that Orion's belt? Found the plough. Can't find it now, but it was definitely there. Some extra little bit of modelling which has gone on in the background. Nice touch, Microsoft and Asobo. So it's just basically scattered cloud over the UK this evening, so I'm going to turn the weather radar off for now. If I go back into full screen mode, there we go, and that works. Now I can also dim the lights in the cockpit here. Again, this is another touch that the modders have done at fly-by-wire simulations. We'll turn that down. Don't want to turn it off. I can also turn this up and down, look, and I noticed this as well the other day. You got a little light there as well. Turn that off for now. Oops, wrong one. There we are. 44 miles from Honolulu, should be there in 10 minutes. No, that's wrong, we should be there at 10 past the hour. That's another thing as well, of course. This time here is the local time at the moment, whereas it should be Zulu time. Still on daylight saving time here in the UK, so we're an hour ahead of Zulu time. I love the fact as well that the clouds are, they have that yellow haze, that yellow glow, as they do from the street lights down below. Set that standard pressure, as we're above the transition altitude now for Manchester. And as we reach our cruise altitude for tonight, the engines roll back. So that's one of the other things as well that's just not quite right yet, the way the engines spool up and down. just not quite as smooth as I'd like it to be at the moment. But again, it will come. Alright, so we've got to do the star, the arrival, ourselves this evening. So we're going to be doing the one that was planned for us via my Simbury flight plan, which is the Willow 3 Bravo arrival, and it's on to runway 8 right. So I wonder if now we're airborne I can actually just come out of this and get Gatwick. There we go, we've got Gatwick Tower online, Gatwick Ground online, and the Gatwick ATIS. So let's say that they're actually using runway 26 left, which is interesting because that's not the one that we planned for, but that's fine. We haven't put it in yet. That's exactly why you don't put it in on the ground, because it can change. So just write this down. So the temperature is 11. We need the QNH 1020, and as I say, we're using runway 26 left. The wind information is variable at 2 knots. So variable at 2 knots. Let's pop all this information then into the FMC. What I am going to do as well actually is tune to Gatwick Tower 124225. You have to scroll for ages to get to these frequencies. Now, I'm not actually going to make that the active frequency at the moment. We've just got that now as a standby, so we're not looking for it at the last minute. Right, let's get the approach details popped in. So, onto the performance page. Next phase, next phase. So the QNH at Gatwick is 1020. The temperature is 11. And the wind is variable at 2 knots. So if the wind's variable, just pop that in as 000 at 2 knots. Okay, we need to come back to fill in the transition altitude and the decision height in a moment. But we just need to update the flight plan. So we'll be arriving on runway 26 left, the ILS. And the moment we click that, then the computer has already dialed in the nav frequencies. You don't need to go hunting for those, they're already there. And the yellow line tells us what it is planning to do. And there it is. Just turn the constraints off because they flash a little bit. Now for some reason it always wants to take you via somewhere. So I'm going to get rid of that. Approach vias. Can we remove that at all? Well, first of all, let's pop the star in, which is the Willow 3 Bravo. That'll be down at the bottom. Ah, that's interesting. We can't do the Willow 3 Bravo because the Willow 3 Bravo is for runway 8 right. So that's not a possibility. So we'll fire up my Navigraph charts and have a look which the correct star would be from Kidley for runway 26 left. Of course, if you haven't got Navigraph, it is well worth looking into. I think it's something like £9 a month. But when you're flying online, you do need the latest charts, particularly when flying with Microsoft Flight Simulator, which isn't always up to date. Right, so let's have a look at an overview to see which star we should be using for runway 26 left. Right, so we should be using the Astra 2 Bravo arrival, which is there. There we go, and enter that in. Right, so there's our route planned. And we'll be starting a descent shortly. It's only a short flight this evening, which is good because we don't want the air traffic controllers at Gatwick to disappear. I'm just in the background here on my smartphone bringing up the charts for Gatwick. And of course the other thing that's very handy to have when you're flying online with VATSIM, if you have the Navigraph subscription, is you've got the ground map, the map of the airport, so when they land and say taxi via taxiway XYZ, you know where to go. The handcrafted airports, from what I can tell, do have the correct taxi signs labelled. Okay, so we're approaching Kidley. After that, it's the Woodley VOR, which is just here. And then it's to Sierra Foxtrot Delta, down to Astra, up to Mayfield, which is correct, and then round into Gatwick. Now that actual approach takes us south of the airfield, which is correct. We couldn't really descend north of the airfield because you've got too much traffic coming out and going into London City and of course London Heathrow, so you have to go the long way round. Oh look, somebody else flying there. Of course all the traffic you can see is live traffic, other players on the VATSIM network. It's not AI traffic, so to speak. I'll turn the seatbelt sign off, give the passengers a short comfort break. It will be short as well. Can't believe the default Airbus didn't come with a working seatbelt sign. Surely that has to be one of the simplest things to pop in. Of the glare as well, and the reflections. In fact, there should be a way to turn the lights off. Hang on, see if we can find that. Is it that one? Nope, that didn't do anything. Where's it gone? It's difficult to see, isn't it, at night? Oh, I heard a beep there, so we're just going to come out and see what that was. Ah, right, of course, because we're on the new flight simulator, sometimes someone's flying an aircraft which the simulator doesn't have, so it just says that it failed to find that aircraft to show it on the screen. So it'll just make a generic private jet. Oh, fair enough. Yeah, how do we turn the cabin lights down? That's the overhead panel, that's those lights. Standby compass. Ah, there's the dome lights. Can we turn those down? Oh, there we go. Let's turn them down a little bit, so that reduces the glare as we look outside. It's still there, isn't it? Never mind. And we can see Gatwick here, coming on the primary flight display. I think, now I've found that, can we turn those down even more? I think actually there's not that many levels. It's either bright, dim, or off. Struggling to click that. Oh well, never mind. It's fine. We need to see what we're doing anyway. So, just turn the constraints on. Oh, hang on. Let's get back into full screen mode. There we go. Ah, that might be why I couldn't click it. Oh, there we are. Turn it off entirely now. Oh, there we go. No glare now while we look out of the windows. Love that. Get a little bit of reflection still from the control unit. Right. Okay. Let's turn that back up. I want to see something. So yeah, let's pop the constraints on and see what this is telling us. So, zoom in and have a look at this. It wants us to be 15,000 feet by WOD, which is there. Actually, it says it's below 15,000 feet, so we can aim for that. But again, there's some conflicting information because you've got below 15,000 feet here, and you've got 19,000 feet there at Astra, and then we need to be above 4,000 feet by the time we're heading towards Mayfield. USR, by the way, I'm guessing means users, in that's what you've got to do, or the autopilot will do, to get from one point to the other. I think in the real Airbus it actually says something like manual. That's what I'm guessing that's meant to mean anyway. So let's start our descent down to 15,000 feet. Now, if you've watched my other videos, you'll know that if we do this in managed mode, it brings the descent up here. We start to drop the throttle down, and just watch and keep an eye on this rate of descent, because it could be a little bit too drastic. Oh, there we go. Do you know what? Let's put those seatbelt signs back on. Should have done that before pressing that button, shouldn't we? Yeah, we don't want to be descending at that rate, so I'm going to pull that out of managed mode, and I'm going to set the descent rate manually. So a couple of thousand feet, there's nothing wrong with that. See, it's also there, you can see that little white arrow there on the navigation display. That is telling you that's where the top of descent should start. However, you're not going to get down to 15,000 feet in that short distance. Mind you, you would do with the rate that this aircraft wants to descend at if you leave it in managed mode. But we'll not. We'll give the passengers a bit of a nicer ride. In fact, we can probably reduce the... oops, wrong way. Reduce the descent rate even more. There we are. It is always worth checking as well, so I'm just going to come out full screen. Always worth checking that no other stations have come online that you need to get in touch with, so like Gatwick approach or the London Centre. If they do come online whilst you're flying and you're not aware of it, they will send you a private message and tell you, saying please contact me on whatever frequency it is. So don't worry about not knowing who to contact. If you should have contacted somebody and you haven't, they will let you know. And they're not angry about it, it's just a friendly message saying please contact me, and they'll expect you to contact them as soon as possible. What I would love to be able to do as well is, and realistically you probably could get away with doing this at this time of night, even in real life, is take the northern route. So just come around here and swing onto the ILS there, but we'll do it properly. We'll do the full circle. Unless, of course, let's get the app up that I've got on my phone, and we'll just have a look how busy the traffic is around Gatwick and London. So we have got a couple of aircraft over London, both flying to Manchester actually, where we've just left from. And to be honest, they're doesn't seem to be very much north of the airfield. So is it worth taking that route? Actually, do you know what? I'm not going to, and I'll tell you the reason for why. Is because there's an aircraft probably about 20 miles ahead of us who's following the star correctly. So if we went, so he's about here, and if we decided to go and come this way, we'd probably sneak in or meet him as he was making his turn onto the base leg and finals. So we'll do it. We'll stick to the correct routing. So we're at 15,000 feet, as is required by this fix. On to the next one. Now there's a couple of things that we still needed to pop into the performance phase information. So the decision height, the weather's pretty good in Gatwick, so we're not doing a Cat 3 landing. That's a full ILS instrument auto land approach, so we won't be doing that. We'll just be doing a normal ILS landing, Cat 1, and yeah, so the decision height is 200. Looking at the charts here, again from Navigraph, and the transition altitude is 6,000 feet. If you're unsure of the transition altitude is the altitude at which you go from using standard pressure to using the pressure of the airfield that you're approaching. So making sure that all the aircraft in the vicinity are using the same pressure, so that they're all at the right altitude. Okay, so I'm just going to zoom in a little bit more on the map, and you can see we've not got that far to go now. So I'm going to start our descent a little bit lower. We'll descend to 5,000 feet initially. I'm going to do that not in manage mode, as we've seen what happens. You can see actually there's still a little bug because I'm turning the dial here.
Either traffic 206, heavy type 787-900, taxiing from Century 20 to runway 27 right for departure. Heathrow.
And now we've got that working, look, so that's fine. So on the multicom traffic, you could hear some traffic there from London Heathrow, because there's no tower controller on the line at London Heathrow, so everyone's just looking after themselves there. I wonder if we can see any of London actually. There's a bit of cloud cover. That there, however, is Gatwick. So we're going to be flying the full circuit around and coming into land. Now you don't need to contact the control tower until you're fully established on the ILS. So we can remain on UniCom frequency for a while yet. What I'm going to do now as well is just start to reduce the speed a little bit, because as I discovered the other day, manage mode should, when you pass 10,000 feet, manage mode should instantly drop you to 250 knots, as you're not allowed faster than 250 knots below 10,000 feet. However, it doesn't do that. So I'll take us out of that and just start to reduce the airspeed a little bit. Actually, there is a constraint there which says 250 knots. As you can see it there. So we do need to comply with that. Oops. There we go. I want to keep it 250 knots. I'm certainly not going to go any slower, as we want to get around here and get into Gatwick as soon as we can. You can just see there's a bank of cloud, isn't there, over the airfield. That's Gatwick. And that's someone just letting us know that they've got us in sight at 7 o'clock. Now, I've no idea who that is, but I can go to the VATScan app, which I've got on the phone. Definitely worth having. Right, so he's actually quite close to us off our other side, so I'm going to send him a quick message back. And tell him we'll make a left turn now. So we're going to turn now onto our downwind leg, just to give us a little bit of spacing. So if we come out of heading mode, and we'll do this manually, we need to also then speed up our rate of descent, and I'm going to keep high speed. So there's Gatwick. So he's going to slow down for us to 200 knots. So what we'll do is we'll tell him we'll maintain 250 knots until base. So we'll maintain 250 knots until we're turning on the base leg. There we go. And that's what UniCom's for, because there's no one controlling the traffic above Gatwick at the minute. Obviously, if the air traffic control's online, he would separate us and space us out accordingly. Just checking, we've still got... actually, Gatwick Tower has disappeared. We've still got Gatwick Ground. So 121.8, I'm going to tune that one in. So we now no longer need to contact the tower, because there's nobody there. They've gone home for the evening. So we're almost abeam the airport now. I'll just 060. So we're flying a true downwind heading. It's going to be a very short turn actually if we maintain that heading, so I'm going to hold it there. Definitely worth familiarising yourself with the different stages of an approach. So we're on the downwind leg at the moment because the runway is here, and we'll be coming in this way. So this is downwind. You then make your turn onto base leg, and then your final is when you're lined up with the runway. We can slow down our rate of descent. We're actually just breaking the speed limit a little bit. However, there's no one online to shout at us, so we can just get away with that a little bit, particularly as we're also keeping our speed up to get out of the way of the Iberia traffic behind us. Was it Iberia? IB something? Could be Norwegian actually. Okay, so we're going to start this final descent now down to 3,000 feet. Again, you sometimes have to pull the bug, set it, and then pull it again for it to register. I also need to be very careful here because, and I don't know if anybody else has found this, when approaching your final altitude, which I'm going to leave it at before we intercept the glide slope in a moment, then sometimes it just breaks completely through the level that you've set. So it doesn't stop at 3,000 feet, it just keeps going, and I end up quickly disconnecting the autopilot and pulling up on the stick to make sure we maintain that altitude. Right, we're in the clouds now, we've lost sight of the airfield, however, we're IFR, so that doesn't matter. So return on the landing system, and the purple lights all come, and we can see there's the glide slope. So we're above it at the moment, but we're just starting to line up with it, so I'm going to start to look to make that turn onto base leg, which is left this way. There we go. So let's slow down, because you don't want to be capturing the ILS at 250 knots. So we're going to slow right down to 180, and we're going to make that left turn. So even though we're descending, look, let's see if it maintains 3,000 feet. It has gone into alt cruise mode, which is correct. Ah, it's done it this time. Excellent. Okay, we need to arm the approach phase, which sometimes, there we go, the aircraft will have already done if it's past the decel point. However, because we took it out of managed mode and flew manually, it hasn't done, so we'll do that ourselves. Click once to arm it, and then once again to confirm it. So now the aircraft knows that it's getting prepared to come into land. There's another broadcast from the VATSIM servers. I'll reduce that airspeed a little bit more, and let's start bringing the flaps down now. Flaps 1 and flaps 2. Reducing to 160 knots. Just looking to see if we could see that aircraft that was behind us. I can't. That's a good sign, right? I can turn the constraints off now because they flash on the screen, look. There we go. So we're 30 miles out. Let's make the final turn, which will then enable us to capture the ILS nicely. So you can see that's effectively the line we're looking to follow. So 160 knots, flaps 3. There's an aircraft there, that could be the Norwegian. Was it Norwegian or Iberia? I can't remember. Not our primary concern at this moment in time.
EZ34 Alpha Mike, this is Northtrans 2601. I will try to make a short approach into runway 26 left.
EZ34 Alpha Mike is turning left now to establish for runway 26 left at 11 miles. So he's just said he wants to try and sneak in front of us. That could be interesting.
EZ34 Alpha Mike, I can see you on the TCAS. I will try to make a left turn to be established. If you can slow down.
Maintaining 140 knots, EZ34 Alpha Mike. So this will be interesting. So we're going to hold the slowest speed realistically that we can for the approach. In fact, I can probably knock it down a couple more, but I don't want to go any slower than that. So we've turned the approach mode on, and we should now start to follow the glide slope, presumably. There we go. Following the glide slope, and it won't be very long before we capture the localizer.
2601, localizer live, established for runway 26 left.
So he's established. Now there is a TCAS on here on this aircraft, the default Airbus A320. I have seen aircraft on here, but I have only through AI. I have not seen VATSIM traffic on there just yet. Localizer's alive now. We're moving across and lining up. So there's no trans. There he is. Look, he's really going to have to. He's really going to have to make a good landing of this and vacate the runway. Otherwise, we're going to have to go around. I really don't want to do that. Landing gear down. See if I can slow down just a little bit more. So this is going to be a very slow speed landing. Just need to be careful on the final approach that we don't stall this. See, alpha floor has just kicked in, which is the stall protection. We can't safely make that, so we'll leave it at 136 knots. Another problem I've found as well with this default Airbus is that at this point now the engines are going to be spooling up, down, up, down, up, down, instead of trying to maintain a steady speed. That alpha floor's kicked in again there, look. So I'm going to go to 140 knots. Let's get everything set for landing. So medium brakes, and we'll on the spoilers. So what are we, 5 miles. Easy 34 Alpha Mike is 5 miles at Gatwick, 26 left.
Northern 2601, clear to land, runway 26 left. I will tell you when the runway is vacated. Thank you.
That's one thing you should never do. Never say you're clear to land when you're on UniCom. Just because you are not clear to land, you are clearing yourself to land. No one has cleared you to land. So just a word to the wise. Right, I'm going to pop the ILS mode on there, so we can see what's happening. The engines have settled down nicely. We're fully established, and we've got 1,000 feet to go. I've lost sight of the no-trans. There he is. He needs to get off the runway pretty quickly, otherwise he's going to ruin my evening. We're a little bit to the left of the localizer at the moment. There's a slight breeze, but we're going to go manual now. So that's the autopilot disarmed.
Gatwick traffic, easy. 905 Tango Kilo established on the 26 left hand mile.
Runway vacated, 26 left, no transfer 601.
Excellent, so he's off. We can now concentrate on the landing. Yeah, it's not the best landing in the world, that one, is it? Way off the centre line. Let's see if we can vacate quickly, because there is an aircraft behind us. There we go. Oh, just a little bit of wind took me away. I wasn't expecting that. But we're down and safe, so we'll just stop the aircraft there and clean it up a little bit. Oh, I forgot to turn the landing lights on. That was naughty. Taxi lights on, strobe lights off, and then what I'm very quickly going to do is check to see if the ground controller is still here. Yes, he is. 121.8. So we can go back in and contact him now. Gatwick ground, good evening. Easy 34 Alpha Mike with you.
Easy 34 Alpha Mike, welcome to Gatwick, taxi via 08 left, hold short right here.
Fire 08 left, holding short at Romeo 34 Alpha Mike.
Gatwick ground, good evening, this is Northbound 2601 with you at taxiway Juliet.
Northbound 2601, welcome to Gatwick, taxi via Juliet, stand 28.
Northbound 2601, taxiway Juliet, stand 28.
So, for those of you unfamiliar with Gatwick, it has 2 runways, but they only use one of them. And runway 08 left or 26 right is used as a taxiway. So it's told us to taxi via 08 left, holding at Romeo, and I'm hesitating ever so slightly because my Navigraph charts have just disappeared. So God knows where Romeo is. We'll find that in a moment. There's that aircraft that was behind us, so we cleared the area in good time for him. So I'm just waiting for the charts to load back up. Hold short of Romeo. Where's Romeo? Romeo. Oh, there we go. Oh, we've got a while to go in yet. So this first exit is on to Tango. So we're not taking that exit. See what that sign there says. Does that say Tango? It does. Oh, that one's actually correct. Landing system off. Can turn all of these off now and start the APU. So Romeo should be coming up here on the left. Where these green taxiway lights are. So we'll hold short just here. See what these stands say here. There we go. Romeo. Holding short of Romeo as instructed. So, because we're on the new flight simulator, the scenery that we've got here may differ.
Good morning, Easy, Mile 5 Tango Kilo, vacated Foxtrot Romeo.
Yeah, so it may differ, so we may just have to...
Tango Kilo, welcome to Gatwick, taxi via 08 left, Orania and Kilo, 106. Taxi via 08 left, and then by Romeo Juliet, 10.6. Easy, Tango Kilo negative via 08 left for Romeo and Kilo, stand 106. Sorry, 08.
You didn't quite get that the first
834
time.
Alpha Mike City taxi via Romeo and Kilo, stand 107.
Taxi via Romeo, Kilo, stand 107, easy 34 Alpha Mike. And that's another reason why Navgraph charts are fantastic to have, because you need to know where stand 107 is. So that's basically left down here, and then the second right, and first parking stand on the left. I've got a feeling I'm going to sneeze in a minute, so I apologise in advance for that. There we go. There's the first right, we don't want to take that. Ah, look at all the cars. Get out of the way. And then we're taking a right turn opposite the control tower. The taxi lights have stopped, that's a pain. So it's down here. And then 107 is, I believe... Oops. Oversteer. Here's the first parking stand that we get to on the left, so I can just see the jetway there. Of course, in the old simulators, FSX, if you had GSX, you could tell GSX what stand you were going to, and they'd send an arrival party for you, wouldn't they? So you knew where you were headed. Ah, it's going to be difficult to see in the dark, isn't it? It starts to swing in just now, look. Here we are. There's the jetway, and we can shut down for the night. Job done. So, I hope you enjoyed that short flight from Manchester to Gatwick, live VATSIM. It's a shame we didn't have live air traffic control all the way down there, particularly on the approach to separate some of the aircraft out, but that gives you a sense of what's to come. Of course, this was done quite late at night, as you can see from the clock. Doing that during the daytime or early evening when most of the controls are online, it really is fantastic and gives you a proper sense of immersion working with live air traffic controllers. Hope to see you again soon with some of the next videos. We've got tutorials as well on the page for SimBrief, and if you want any more details and going through programming the McDo, etc., then check out the full flight tutorial from London Heathrow up to Manchester. Any questions, comments, please leave them. I'll do my best to answer them. See you all again soon.